Welcome back to another episode of Sound Pals Go to the Movies. This is another Throwback Thursday review, and today I will be reviewing the movie Roadhouse from 1989. And just a fair warning, there's going to be spoilers up ahead, so you've been warned. A bouncer hired to clean up the baddest honky-tonk in a Missouri town, armed with a black belt in karate and a degree in philosophy. Patrick Swayze sets out to tame the Double Deuce for its owner. So let's begin with my first pro. I enjoy movies with Sam Elliott and also action movies. And when I saw the remake of Roadhouse with Jake Gyllenhaal, I said time to revisit the original. So cast wise, I liked Sam Elliott's performance and revisited and enjoyed the music by Healey. That choice was great. He gave the bar its character and persona, and you can see the music change as the bar gets cleaned up. Next pro, I like that the film took a dive into what many people don't know about bouncers and coolers in the bar industry and how they take care of fights or unwanted guests before the cops are called or show up. That was a bold move to make during the 1980s when movies were mostly about action or love. And now onto my cons. The story in its core was a theme back in the 1980s, the guy who can't let go of something in life that is troubling him and he is troubled by it, but still he's a good guy. Like the hero who has some special gift but he sees it as a curse, but others find it useful. Patrick plays the character with a cold persona. The girls fall for him and say, I can fix him. You also have the basic bad guy that wants to buy everything and take control of everything through the power of extortion and power. So your basic 1980s cookie cutter movie. And you add a little bit of kung fu movements here and there and you call it a martial arts inspired movie. So you can see where I'm going with this. I did not enjoy the original, but when I saw the new one, I kind of thought they put more emphasis and thought into the backstory of Dalton. The recent film, he was a ex-UFC fighter who killed his best friend in the ring, and now he regrets doing that and it haunts him. But you also see him using UFC moves in the movie and not just saying, hey, I have a black belt in this and a degree in something else, just to show off. Next con, the action fights. Even if there was a professional that had a black belt in many fields, trained and choreographed the fights, they felt like a really cheap ripoff. For example, we see Dalton use punches and kicks more like a street baller, but then we see him practicing martial arts in the morning, and for him to have a black belt in karate doesn't really make sense with his fighting style. Yet they do try to make him act like he knows karate, but most of his fights is just punching and kicking, just like the joke from Family Guy when Peter goes around and kicks and says Roadhouse. I feel the film tried to make him seem like he was using his martial arts to control his anger, but not really use it during the fights at the bar. Also, the ending fight against Jimmy felt like it was a ripoff of other martial arts movies or like a cheap choreographed fight. Next con, the script that was written for other characters. How can I say this? It was below average. For example, the love interest, Elizabeth Clay. She is also the love interest of the bad guy, so really a bad wannabe love triangle, I guess? But that is not the bad part of the character. She pisses off the bad guy by falling in love with Dalton, so the bad guy starts messing around with other people's businesses in town. Then she tries to get Dalton to leave the town to stop the bad guy from doing his baby tantrum. And then there's a fight in which Dalton kills Jimmy, a henchman from the bad guy, in self-defense. And guess what? That is a big no-no for Elizabeth. That just makes her hate Dalton, but it's okay for the bad guy to blow up her uncle's shop, destroy other businesses in town. Then at the end, she does a 180 and stays with Dalton after the bad guy dies because all the townspeople got together and took turns shooting him until he was dead. Which, in my point of view, this is much worse than what Dalton did. But hey, for Dr. Elizabeth, that is just fine and dandy. This is the writing you will encounter in this movie, and not just from one character, but other characters. Or you find super weird lines like Jimmy telling Dalton, I used to F guys like you in prison. When I heard this, I was like, okay, too much information there, buddy. Slow down. I don't want this film to turn into a meme like Lords of the Locker Room. But I guess the biggest issue I had with the film was Dalton. He is described as a bouncer armed with a black belt in karate and a degree in philosophy, which, spoilers, he is never shown using any of the two. Like, we never saw him use any karate unless you count the fight with Jimmy, but I see that as a semi-clothed version of Lord of the Locker Room with a little bit of kicks here and there. And for the degree in philosophy, it doesn't bring anything to the film, except it sort of can explain why he drives the Benz, maybe because he had a good career before he was a bouncer. And in one scene, we do see him read a book for under 30 seconds. So yeah, these two things never had anything to do with the film because they aren't relevant in the film and don't add anything to the story. Next con, there are some film errors that were left and not reshot or taken out in editing, and the reason is beyond me. Some mistakes are clear as day, so them being left is a huge negative from my point of view. For example, when Dalton goes into the Double Deuce's boss's office and the henchmen are there trying to get Pat, the bartender's job back, and Pat goes to attack Dalton with a knife, but before Dalton punches him in the face, we can see Pat's face is already bloody before he gets punched by Dalton. And you don't even need to slow the film down, pause it, you see it at full speed. So my question is, why was it left in there? If you can clearly see it, why leave it there? Why not reshoot it? There are other ones like Red having the windshield wiper handed to him by someone behind the shelf when Dalton goes in to buy it, or when his store blows up, we see no interior parts like shelves or products flying during the explosion. It's just a simple shell made to be blown up. Still, some of these are practical effects, but others are just lazy work that was overlooked. So my grade for this movie is going to be a 5 out of 10. I would say that this film was made and casted Patrick Swayze just because he was in Dirty Dancing before and it was a big hit. And they wanted to cash in on the females to bring them in to see the film. I mean, the overall concept for a late 80s, early 90s movie was good, but the script was horrible. I understand that this film got a cult following after the VHS release, but to believe that people actually like this film versus they watch it to make fun, I just can't believe that. I mean, just listening to some of the lines in the film and some of the errors they made is just too cringe for me. I guess the only reason to watch this movie is to rip on it and also to better understand the references in Family Guy of the running joke of Peter kicking and saying Roadhouse. So that does it for this review of Roadhouse from 1989. Please join us next time where we're going to review Dirty Harry.
I know what you're thinking. Did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Well, to tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I've kind of lost track myself.
Please like, comment, and subscribe. You can find our social media links below. And like always, keep watching movies.